Hey NBA 2K MyLeague fans, I am back with another NBA 2K MyLeague video. And in this video, we move on to Season 2 of our NBA 2K Rebuilding Challenge with the Indiana Pacers, where we're just bringing in guys from Indiana to be on the team, and we're trying to see if we can win a championship. If you're new to the channel, I'm Coach 2K. If you want to learn how to play My League, then you're going to want to subscribe to my channel and click the bell to get notified whenever I upload anything new, so you don't miss a single NBA 2K video that I put out. Alright, so with that, let's get started and move on to Season 2 of our NBA 2K My League rebuild of the Indiana Pacers. Alright, before we move into Season 2 here, real quick, if you missed Season 1, I'll put a link in the corner of the video so you can see how we started this series and how we got the roster the way it is today. But in a nutshell, what we're doing here is we are remaking the Indiana Pacers to guys that just went to college in Indiana, and we're going to see if we can try and win a championship here. Alright, one thing that's going to be important during this season is we're going to try and go deeper into the bench to get playing time potentially for the guys that we've added from Indiana. Now, they're still deep bench players. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the coach game plan. We're going to go down to bench depth, and we're going to set this to the max bench depth that we can do. We're going to leave bench utilization at 40, and then we're going to change the lineup performance factor to 100. That way, whoever's playing well, if they get hot, they'll get to stay in the game. And hopefully, this will get more of our players involved in the games that we sim, because we're not actually playing the games. I also think it might help with team chemistry. So we're going to find out. It's kind of an experiment here to see if we can get minutes for the guys from Indiana this season, because we still got guys ahead of them who aren't connected to Indiana because we're still playing out their contracts. Some prospects we'll be looking at in the upcoming draft during the offseason will be Rudy Castro. He's a point guard from Notre Dame. Eddie Harper. He's a center from Indiana. Sebastian Lawrence is a center from Butler. Boris Mullen is a point guard from Purdue. And Lester Wade, also from Purdue, is a power forward. So these are the guys we're going to focus on scouting during the season, and we've added them to our draft board, and hopefully we can find some talent here. One extra guy this year. I think last season there were only 4 guys in the draft from Indiana. And taking stock of our contract extensions that are upcoming, Oladipo wants to test free agency, which is a big deal because he's from Indiana. We want to hang on to him. TJ Warren also wants to test free agency, and that's okay with us. We want to unload him at some point. And then Cody Zeller also wants to test free agency, and he's from Indiana too, so we want to hold on to him if at all possible as well. After taking stock of our contract extensions that might be on the table this year, we decided to update our trading block. We ended up putting Victor Oladipo and Cody Zeller as untouchables. To communicate to the rest of the league and the players and the agents that we really are interested in keeping these guys on the team. You'll notice here Oladipo's contract expires at the end of this season, and Cody Zeller is in the same boat. Now, TJ Warren was interested in testing free agency. He still has another year in his contract after this year, but we're going to go ahead and put him on the trading block since he expressed that interest, and he's from North Carolina State, so he's not a guy that we want to keep on the team anyway. In terms of guys that we're targeting, probably one of my favorites is OG Anunoby, and he's currently with the Raptors. He's from Indiana, and he's going to have to make a decision this offseason, and so we want to make a play for him at some point to try and get him on the team. He's a nice young player, 23-year-old small forward. It would be a big boon to us to add him to the team, and so that's a top priority for us. Romeo Langford, another Hoosier, went to Indiana University, and he is with the Celtics, and at the end of this season, the Celtics have an option to pick up their team option. So we're going to be watching that carefully to see if they end up picking that up. If they don't, then that's going to be a guy that we're going to want to pick up, another 6'4" shooting guard, 21 years old, nice young player that we are interested in. George Hill, he'd be a good veteran. His contract at the end of the year, he also moves into team option status, so there's always a chance he might be available. You know, he's getting up there in age, so you know he's not going to be a huge target for us, but if he's available at a good price, if we can put a Indiana player in at point guard, that's something that we'd like to do. Yogi Ferrell, we kind of passed on him in free agency, but his contract's going to be up this year as well. And so there's a chance maybe we can make a play for Yogi Ferrell. He might be a little bit better than George Hill, mainly due to his age. And then the last guy is Noah Vonleh. We added him to the target list too. He's a free agent. We attempted to sign him in the offseason last year. However, we didn't have the cap space to do it, and he wasn't as interested in signing with us as Pat Connaughton was. So he did play for us in the summer league. He played pretty well, and he didn't end up signing with any team. So there's probably a good chance that we could end up signing him at some point this season, depending on if we make any moves. Looking at our salary cap position, currently we're over the cap by more than $12 million, and we still are not over the luxury tax threshold. So one of our goals while we're playing in this rebuilding mode is to not go over the luxury tax threshold, and that's probably going to be pretty easy for the most part. Next year we have $44 million available, so we got plenty of room to sign like Oladipo and Cody Zeller. We have a couple guys under contract, Turner and Sabonis. Those contracts, again, we're probably going to do the best we can to play out. Guys that are expiring this year are guys like McDermott, TJ Leaf. We got the guy overseas right now, and so he's not even on the roster. We got McConnell, his contract's expiring. We got Connaughton for a 4-year deal. Patazde, his team option's coming up, so theoretically we could maybe unload him, although he's got a lot of potential. Same thing with Holiday and Graham. And so that's like 6 more guys that don't have Indiana connections that we could potentially lock up for Indiana guys. And that would put us, you know, pretty much about 13 guys out of the 18 that we have on the roster at this point. Now, looking at our trainer position, we need to get a better trainer in here. Now, from a training standpoint, Randy Martin is a pretty good trainer. He's got a B+ training rating, but he doesn't have much potential. So what we want to do, we want to get a guy in here that's got some good potential. And we've got a couple trainers here that are A rated. Well, actually, yeah, Jess Perkins and Andrew Daly. So Andrew Daly looks a little bit better than Jess Perkins. So we're going to try and pick up him and see if we can improve ourselves. We fired him, and we're going to add this Daly guy if we can. So we're going to sign him. We're going to make him an offer, and he accepted our offer. So we have a new trainer, Andrew Daly, and we'll see if his training rating goes up. And hopefully we can get him up to like an A, you know, with that potential rating. I want to see if that increases as he is under contract these next 4 years. Now we got 2 guys on 2-way contracts, Juwan Morgan and Joseph Kerr. And I made a mistake in the offseason last video where I didn't send Joseph Kerr to untapped potential, so I thought he was the guy I was sending, but I sent Swanigan instead. But these 2 guys are in the G League. We want to make sure that they're not just sitting here burning their 45 days. So right now we have them under a 2-way contract. Both of them are sitting in the G League. So you always want to make sure the guys you have on 2-way contracts are in the G League when you're not using them. That way, if you do need them, you'll have those NBA days left, of which you got 45 if you need them. And because we're going to be simming, we're also going to take the lineup automation and just set it to auto across the board here before games for injuries and roster changes, so that the CPU can kind of make the maximum use out of the roster without us forgetting to go in there and adjust due to injury, or if we add a player or delete a player. Now we've begun simming through the season, and it's time to start choosing who we want to scout for the draft. And so we've added those 5 guys we put on the draft board who went to college in Indiana, and those are who we're going to target to scout during the season. Alright, so we have been offered a trade from the Bucks. They've offered us 2 first-round draft picks for our point guard, Devontae Graham. So I think this is going to be a pretty good deal for us, and one we're going to want to accept. So let's have a look at this and go in and review the trade. Devontae Graham, his contract expires at the end of the year. He's from Kansas. He's not somebody we're going to want to re-sign. So to get 2 first-round draft picks for him will put us in very good position to make some moves in the offseason to get some of the players we might want to get. So we're going to accept this trade. It does say it's an illegal trade. The Bucks are over the salary cap, so some sort of trade exception is going to be created to make up the difference. So I'll have to take a closer look at that to see if that's on our side or if it's on their side. But in any case, it's a valid trade, even though it says it's illegal. And so we're going to add the exception automatically and continue, and then make this trade. So you can see this trade exception was added to our salary cap table for Devontae Graham. I don't really remember. I did a video on trade exceptions. I'll try and remember to put a link to that video in the corner of this video, just to kind of, if you want to refresh your memory on how trade exceptions work. It's a real small trade exception, so I don't think it's going to be that big a deal for us to worry about. Now this trade's going to leave us a little thin at point guard, so we're going to go out to free agency and see if we can find a point guard from Indiana that we can add for the league minimum. Got a couple good guys from Indiana here. Carson Edwards from Purdue is the first one at point guard that we have the option to make a contract offer to. The second guy is Shelvin Mack from Butler. He's a little bit older guy. He's 30 years old. So I think we're going to opt to go with Carson. He played for us in the Summer League, and he's a little bit smaller, but he's a little bit younger. He's like 22 years old. So we're going to pass on Shelvin first and offer a contract to Carson. Now Carson Edwards doesn't have a lot of interest in signing for the league minimum, but we're going to offer the contract to him anyway. And he has declined the offer. So we're going to move on to Shelvin Mack. Shelvin Mack is interested in a minimum contract, so we're going to offer a contract to him, and he's happily accepted that offer. So now we're restocked at point guard with a Hoosier. So we've added another Indiana player to the team, which is fantastic. I think that's maybe 8 guys now. Alright, so we're at the trading deadline, and at the trading deadline we always check to see what the status of our contract extensions are. I like to get those resolved before the contract extension deadline, which is a little bit farther down the road here. And all 3, Oladipo and Zell are the 2 players we're mainly concerned about. Still want to test free agency. We noticed that Warren's hurt here. He's got a bruised hip. So anyway, I just wanted to give you an update that those guys still want to test free agency, and so we'll have to see what happens in the offseason with them. Okay, so we simmed through the season, and we actually improved our record. Last year we only won 31 games, and this year we won 44 games, and we made the playoffs, so we're the 6th seed in the playoffs. We're going to face the Philadelphia 76ers. In the playoffs, we would get beat by the Sixers 4-1, And in that series, Oladipo dislocated his shoulder and was out for a couple weeks. And then the Celtics won their second straight championship in a row, beating the Nuggets 4-0. So anyway, pretty good season, making the playoffs. It's now time to get into probably the most important part of our season, and that is the off season. So let's see what happens. So the first thing in the off season was we looked at player retirements. And Carson Edwards, who didn't want to sign for the league minimum, has actually retired from the league, along with another guy named Jordan Lloyd and a couple actual guys who played high school in Indiana, Courtney Lee and Zach Randolph. So we had some Indiana guys retire from the league in the offseason. So we're getting ready to head into the draft. We got 4 picks. We got 2 first-round picks. They're late rounders. And 2 second-round picks. So we got 4 picks to work with in this draft. I mean, I don't think we're going to have any trouble getting the Hoosiers that we want, except for maybe one of them, which is our top target. And that guy is Boris Mullen from Purdue. He's a point guard, 6'2", compared to Ricky Rubio and C.J. Watson. So this is the guy we want. We're about 4 picks too low. So we're going to think about this and just kind of hope he falls to us. I don't know that we can trade up. I suppose it's always possible. But we'll see what happens. So Boris Mullen actually went number 15, so he went even earlier than anticipated. So we're going to see if we can trade our first round pick to the Bulls for Boris Mullen. Alright, so we've teed up this trade with our first round pick for Boris Mullen. Let's see if the Bulls end up accepting that, and they have. So we were able to successfully pick up Boris Mullen and add him to the team. Alright, so what we opted to do was to trade our other first round draft pick, since there aren't any Hoosiers there that are really worth spending on that. And we did opt to use the trade finder here, and we found a good offer from the Hawks. They're willing to give us their first round draft pick in 2025 and another second round pick for this particular year. So we're gonna offer that trade and see if they'll take it, and they have. So that'll get us through the first round, mainly doing what we wanted to accomplish, and that's to get Boris Mullen. And so with our pick in the second round, we chose Eddie Harper, and he's a 6'10" center from Indiana. So another Hoosier going to be added to the team. And with our other second round pick, we decided to pick Lester Wade, another 6'11" big man power forward. And so we found a way to add yet another guy to the roster from Indiana. And I didn't realize we had yet another pick in the second round. So we ended up picking Sebastian Lawrence and another big guy. So we're going to be big guy heavy. We're going to have to get rid of some of those guys on the roster named Turner and Sabonis. Alright, so before we sign our rookies here, we're going to have to release some cap holds. So we're going to renounce the rights to Aaron Holiday, to Doug McDermott, to TJ McConnell, and to TJ Leaf. So we're going to leave it on Batadze for the moment. We're going to go ahead and sign all these rookies. I'm not sure that's a good idea, since some of these guys aren't very good. What we're hoping to do in free agency is pick up Gordon Hayward, and so we're going to see how that goes, and hopefully we'll sign Oladipo. So we got a lot going on here, but we ended up signing these guys to basically league minimum contracts. And we still have this Nico guy still overseas. We got the rights to him, and so we'll be able to maybe do something with him next season in terms of maybe trading him away. Alright, it's time to look at our player options here. We're going to go ahead and decline this team option on Batadze, and we're going to go ahead and accept it on Pearson, who was our pick last year in the draft. So there were two guys we were wondering if their team options would be exercised. First was George Hill, and George Hill, the Bucks did not exercise his team option, so he's potentially somebody we might add in the offseason depending on how many guys we got under contract. The other guy we were interested in was Romeo Langford, and the Celtics did exercise their team option on him, so he's still locked up. In terms of qualifying offers, we've got 3 Hoosiers here. We're not going to offer any of them a qualifying offer. These 2 guys we had 2-way contracts with, so I want to make sure we have enough room in free agency to add anybody that we can that might be better than these guys. I think we'll be able to sign these guys to a deal in the offseason either way. Alright, so in the moratorium period, we made it a priority to sign Victor Oladipo. So he's 82 rated overall, 35 badges. We've offered him a 4-year deal with a 1-year team option, and he didn't have any offers at the moment. So it'd be great to re-sign him, and so we're going to lock in an offer to Victor. The good news is he's very interested in re-signing with us, which is fantastic. So all signs point to him doing exactly that. And the other guy we're interested in signing is Gordon Hayward. So we've offered him a contract as well, a 4-year deal, last year team option. He is also very interested in coming to play with Indiana. So that's a good positive sign. I thought it might be very difficult to get him from the Celtics, so we'll see. And Victor Oladipo and Gordon Hayward both decided to sign with us. It's a big win for us in the offseason here, so I am super excited about that. And then finally, the last guy I think we're really interested in getting is OG Anunoby, and so we're going to offer him a pretty good contract too to come to Indiana and play behind Gordon Hayward. Alright, so Anunoby ended up agreeing to terms, so that left us in a tough position because we also had Hayward, but we don't have enough cap space. So we're going to be pretty stocked at small forward, and we want to get rid of TJ Warren, and so we did opt to use the trade finder here to find us a deal that would help us make the rest of these transactions work. And so we're going to follow through on this offer here, and they have agreed to take that trade, and hopefully that'll give us enough cap space to get Oladipo, Hayward, and Anunoby in the team. And it does, so that's great. So I'm excited that we can add all 3 of those guys back to the team, and that's going to help us a ton. Alright, so next up we decided to see what kind of offers were available for Jeremy Lamb here. And there's an offer for Thomas Bryant. Thomas Bryant is a center power forward, and he's from Indiana, and so we are going to offer that up, and they have agreed to do that, which is great. So now we got rid of Lamb, and we got another power forward center and Thomas Bryant. The next thing I did was kind of screwed up the video as I waived this Oni guy and Kersey. Both their contracts were pretty small, so it's still going to count against my cap, but I figured that's something that we could eat so that we can open up some space, especially at power forward there for Thomas Bryant to maybe step in and play a little bit at power forward. Now, salary cap wise, we're in a position where we don't have a whole lot of money to spend. I believe we can use a mid-level exception to try and sign somebody like George Hill, and that's what we're going to try and do. We're not in danger of reaching the luxury tax threshold, so we're good staying under the luxury tax. So George Hill's getting up there in age, but we are going to go ahead and sign him to a 2-year deal, but one of the years being a team option. I think his veteran presence will help out at point guard. And Hill has agreed to sign with us, and so we've added him at point guard. Alright, so We've offered Yogi Ferrell a minimum contract and Etwan Moore a minimum contract because that's the only flexibility that we got. So we're going to offer that to him, and he has declined our offer for a minimum contract. Yogi Ferrell is still mulling our offer. So we need to find another shooting guard. And so we got to dig deep into free agency here. We found a guy named Julio Forbes, and he went to Indiana, and we're going to offer him a league minimum contract, which he'll probably take. Yogi Ferrell ended up signing with us, so that puts us a little bit stronger at point guard. Of course, we have Noah Vonleh out here again. He's still wanting too much money. We're going to offer him the league minimum because that's all we can do, and we'll see if he ends up taking it. He has declined our offer. I don't think we're going to get Noah on the team. Julio Forbes ended up signing with us at shooting guard, and he signed for the league minimum. And that puts our roster at 15 players. So we got 3 at point guard, 3 at shooting guard, 3 at small forward, 2 at power forward, and 4 at center. What we should have done with these young guys, instead of drafting them, we probably should have signed them to two-way deals and then re-sign those other guys. But we live and learn on how to do that in the game. So I do have a couple spots that I can offer for two-way contracts, and I'm going to try and do that. This is our 7-footer from Butler, and so we want to offer him a two-way contract, and we'll see if he accepts that. And he does, so we've got him to a two-way contract, which is great. I'd really like to sign Juwan Morgan to a two-way deal. That's what I had him on last year. So we're going to offer it to him and see what he says. And he declined that offer, so we're not going to be able to sign Juwan Morgan. Oh, I see. I had him out there for a qualifying offer. And Caleb Swanigan. So both those guys had qualifying offers. I assume they're going to be on our team. So let's have a look here if they are on our team. Yeah, there's Morgan and there's Swanigan. Okay, so good. I feel much better about having those guys on the team. After all those deals, we still ended just $5 million over the cap and still plenty of luxury tax room, which is pretty good, and we got everybody signed to some pretty long-term deals here. We're going to have to figure out what to do with Sabonis and Turner, because those guys are not Hoosiers. Otherwise, everybody outside those two guys are now Hoosiers on the roster. So I think we've got 17 guys on the roster, and 2 of those guys are not Hoosiers. I'm not sure what happened to our guy from Europe. Let's see if he ended up staying here on our, because he was over there for 2 years and we ended up losing him. So it turns out that we did not keep him for some reason, even though he was overseas for 2 years. So I'm not sure what happened there. Alright, so now we're into the Summer League, and we have all Hoosiers on our Summer League team. Eddie Harper led the team in scoring with 17 points and got 9 rebounds as we beat the Grizzlies 100-89. Our second Summer League game, looks like Jordan Lloyd from Indianapolis, who I thought retired, ended up leading us in scoring. What position is he? He's a shooting guard. It's a guy we could have maybe added. We got Boris Bowen, he had 20. He was our first round draft pick. And Harper ended up with 10. This year we ended up advancing in the first round of the bracket in the Summer League as Carson Edwards got 16 points. Jordan Lloyd got 12. Colson here, Bonzie Colson from Notre Dame, got 12. And our first round, our draft pick last year, Ricky Pearson from Vincennes, he had 12. And Boris Mullen with 11. We got Morgan down here doing some good job on the boards with 14 rebounds. And we won our second game of the Summer League tournament. Big deal here. Look at this Kerr, who is that 7-footer from Butler, who's going to be a project for us. Hopefully we can take over for Miles Turner. 7-footer. He ended up having 10 points and 18 rebounds as we beat the Mavericks 103-76 to advance in the tournament. And we ended up losing in the next game here as Carson Edwards would lead us with 12 points, but the Warriors would beat us by 40, 120-80. Alright, because our trainer is not very good, we only have one camp, and that's for untapped potential. And we're going to use that untapped potential on Kerr, who's that 7-footer from Butler. So we're going to send him to that. His potential after that is B+, and then hopefully with some time in the G League, he'll develop over this upcoming season. Alright, so we have advanced to the end of Season 2, and at point guard we got Hill, Yogi Ferrell, and Boris Mullen. At shooting guard we have Oladipo, Connaughton, and Forbes. At small forward we have OG Anunoby, Gordon Hayward, and Ricky Pearson. And then at power forward we have Sabonis, Morgan, and Wade. And Sabonis is the only guy not from Indiana there. And then at center we got Turner, Bryant, Swanigan, and Kerr. So we had to let a couple guys go. I had to release them because I had too many people under contract. So I got to be careful signing those guys in the draft. I could have probably just signed a couple of those guys to two-way contracts. Alright, so that's the end of Season 2. Let me know what you think of our progress. Now we got to put a winning team on the floor because we're almost to the point where we have an entirely Hoosier-connected roster. Alright, well that's it for this episode. I'll see you in Season 3. I'm Coach 2K. I'll see you on the court in the next video. Thanks for watching.